Hello and welcome back to the Victoria Marie YouTube channel. I'm Victoria, and around here I feature all things scrapbooking and crafting. If that's your jam, make sure you hit the subscribe button. When you do, click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every time a new video is posted. Today I'm doing a product review and a scrapbook project using materials from one of the Jolie Kit Club kits. This is a kit club that specializes in shabby chic, elegant, and romantic kits. So if that's something that you enjoy, stay tuned because I think you will like what you will see here. Also, be sure to stay tuned and I'll tell you how you can get a 20% off discount to the Jolie store. Now, this kit club specializes in shabby chic kits, and this is perfect for those who like that romantic feel and style to their projects. You can use it on scrapbooking, mixed media projects, and the whole nine. And in a few minutes, I'm going to show you what was included in the kit that I purchased from Jolie. By the way, this is not sponsored. I met the owner at Creativation in Orlando, Florida recently, and she was telling me about her kit club. And so I want to learn more and do a review and share her kits here with you. So speaking of the owner, this is Kimberly Hurd, and she is the owner of Jolie Kit Club and Chipboard. She also makes her own custom chipboard pieces, by the way. And she says she began scrapbooking in 2001 after the death of her mother, and she would spend countless hours going through photos and creating pages. And not only was this a therapeutic exercise for her, she really developed a love of scrapbooking. And as her skills and her style evolved, she wanted to find more products that were more leaning towards the shabby chic, romantic, and elegant style. And that's what led her to open up Jolie Kit Club. She wanted to provide a resource for crafters who wanted to push past their creative boundaries. So let's take a look at some of the items that came in this kit. Again, I purchased this kit from Jolie Kit Club, and I'm really excited to use it. In fact, I haven't used materials like this in a very long time. So first up is the custom chipboard. These are cut in-house by Jolie, which is fantastic, and I believe that they include these chipboards with pretty much all their kits for the most part, and there's different types of kits too, so make sure you go to the website and check that out. So I'm going to use this frame to frame out a photo of my daughter. That's who I'm going to be making the layout about. Also, the kit came with this clip, and I'm actually going to just use that in my studio decor. I wouldn't necessarily use that on a scrapbook project because it is kind of bulky. I could take the clip off if I wanted to, but I'm going to actually use it as part of a decor item. Also included in the kit are these gorgeous paper flowers. These are handmade paper flowers from 49th and Market. And I haven't used paper flowers on a project in years. I used to use paper flowers all the time, and so I was so happy to see this in the kit. Also, another fun item are the 49th and Market Avesta laser cut elements, and these are really, really cool to use. They're fantastic quality, and this particular collection is going to be perfect for a shabby chic design, any project that is, whether it's a scrapbook page or 3D element or home decor. So I'm showing you the second sheet, and that just opens up to about 12 by 12. I'm going to use the little faux lace elements on that, and you'll see how that comes together in a few. Now, this specific kit also comes with 12 by 12 pattern papers. Again, this is from the 49th and Market Artoptions Avesta 12 by 12 collection pack, and there's 8 papers that come in the pack. They're double-sided. One side has a bunch of cut-aparts, and then of course you get these beautiful patterns, lots of florals, tons of texture, beautiful color, and this is a great way to create sort of a shabby chic mixed media look without doing a whole lot of work. So let's take a look at these pattern papers. Also included is a mini distress ink by Holtz, and this color is called Dry Marigold. And this is a beautiful color that coordinates very well with the 49th and Market Artoptions Avesta collection. All of the products included in the kit are very high quality and are perfect for any project. So speaking of project, let's get into it. So I have this photo of my daughter. We went on a hike recently, and my daughter likes to do ballet everywhere we go. She is a pre-professional ballerina, and I took this picture of her on one of the walking trails, and I thought this would be perfect for a shabby chic design. I'm also going to grab some items out of my stash. I have some texture paste. I also have some ivory paint, acrylic paint, and then I'm also going to pull a couple of little ink pads from my Distress ink collection. And then I'm also going to add in some enamel dots just for some more added texture. The first thing I'm going to do is paint the frame and build out my mixed media background. Now, it has been a very long time since I've done a design like this. I haven't painted chipboard or done any heavy layering with flowers and stuff in years, and so it was really fun to dig into this. So I'm just using some student grade acrylic paint that I got at Michael's, and this is kind of an ivory color. And what I'm going to do with this frame is just paint the front side because you can't see the back side. I'm going to set that aside to dry, and once it's all dry, I'm going to distress it a little bit with some Distress ink. I'm going to reach for the pumice stone in my little mini Tim Holtz ink, Distress ink collection. And I'm just going to get at the edges of this frame using a sponge dauber. And I'm going to apply this to the edge of the frame, both on the outside and the inside, to give it a distressed look, so it doesn't look so stark on the layout. Next, I'm going to position it to the top. I selected this 12 by 12 pattern paper with that beautiful floral design at the top. But before I commit to this, I want to cut out my picture so that it can be framed with that chipboard frame. So using the inner part of the frame, I'm going to use it as a template to cut out my photo, mainly because the frame is very intricate, and that will give me a good idea of how large my photo needs to be trimmed in order for it to fit behind the frame. I did leave a little bit of room so that the photo can adhere to the back of the frame. Once I have the photo in place, I'm going to bring in a 12 by 12 piece of pattern paper from the kit, and it has flowers there at the top third of the page. I thought would be really pretty to position my frame there at the top, or my photo rather. So I'm going to cut off the branding strip. I'm actually going to trim down this pattern paper because I decided that I want to mount it on another piece of pattern paper from the Artoptions Avesta collection. So I'll trim off that branding strip as well. And I'm going to gut the middle of the pattern paper because it is so gorgeous and I only have one sheet of it. So I want to make sure that I cut it so that I can preserve the rest of that paper for a different project. Now, once all the papers are trimmed, it's time to adhere them together. Now, I did trim just a little bit more off the floral paper so that the paper is now measuring 11 by 11 inches, and there's a nice border framing that floral pattern paper. Next up, it's time to add a little mixed media to the background. So for this, I'm going to reach for a stencil from Hero Arts, and I'm also going to grab a few more ink pads from my stash. So I have some dried marigold, pumice stone, and scattered straw. Of course, the dried marigold came with this kit. And what I want to do is create layers on the background. Very nice, very subtle, very elegant. So I'm going to start with a stencil first. Now you may be asking, Victoria, do you gesso your page whenever you're working with mixed media? And the answer to that is it depends on how much wet medium I'm using on my page. So if I'm using something with a lot of water, then I will add gesso, and gesso will allow the page to have a nice coating so that that water doesn't seep through the fibers of the paper, causing a bunch of buckling. For this project, since I'm not using a lot of wet mediums, I'm not going to gesso the page. So I applied the stencil there behind the frame of the photo, or behind the photo rather, towards the bottom and then towards the side, creating a visual triangle across the page. Next up, I'm going to add to the layers of this particular layout. And this is what's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck when you're doing a mixed media inspired or even a shabby chic inspired layout. So the next thing I'm going to come in with is a stamp, and this is from Bo Buddy, and it's a textured stamp, and you can see there it has 4 different textured designs. And this particular stamp I'm going to use as an acrylic stamp. I'm going to at first use it without an acrylic block, but I am going to add an acrylic block here in just a second, just to give me a little bit more stability. But I'm going to stamp this at all 3 of the stenciled spaces there on the layout. And the reason why that I got the acrylic block is because I wanted to make sure I got a nice solid impression, or as solid as I want it to, but still kind of keeping in tune with the shabby chic look of this particular design. So I'm going to stamp this chicken wire stamp. Maybe that's the design name. I don't know. I'm going to stamp it where all of the inked stenciling is. And to apply that ink, by the way, I did use a blender brush from Taylor Expressions. Next, I'm going to bring in a second layer of mixed media by way of, again, a stencil, but this time I'm using some texture paste. And this texture paste I just purchased at Michael's. It's Liquitex, and I believe this is a medium texture paste. It's going to dry pretty quickly. I'm going to apply it again over the stenciling and the stamping that I did, just adding another layer. Now, I will confess, whenever I am doing this type of design, which I haven't done in a very long time, it always looks like a hot mess at first, and then eventually it will all come together. And the key is to add layers until you have a composition that you feel pretty good about. Now I'm going to continue to apply this texture paste and this stencil. This is a stencil from Altenew, by the way, that didn't come with the kit. That was in my stash. Until I have the texture that I want. Next, I need to add some splatters, and that's going to be the second layer here to my mixed media page. And I'm using some Scattered Straw Distress ink. I added that to an acrylic block with a little bit of water, and unfortunately I added just a little bit too much water because it dripped off the acrylic block. But what I'm doing is I'm taking a paintbrush and scattering that distress ink to create little tiny splatters, and some of it dripped on the page, but that's okay because it's covered by my photo. Once that set was complete, I did hit the page a little bit with my heat tool just to expedite the drying of those materials on the page. Next up, it's time to embellish. So using the Avesta laser cut elements, I reach for this little faux lace piece here, which is so cool. I'm going to use a little bit of distress ink and pumice stone on the lace to give it sort of a distress look, and I'm going to do the same thing around the perimeter of my layout. And in hindsight, I probably should have done this first because the second layer I have to pull up just a little bit, which is fine. The heat from the heat tool kind of loosened the adhesive a little bit, so it made it a tiny bit easier for me to pull it up off the page. But I'm going to add some distress ink. I haven't edged my pages like that in years, so that was really fun to do. Now, before I commit to adding anything else to the page, embellishment wise, I want to add a little bit more stamping because I felt it needed something else. So I reached in my stash and I found a Bow Bunny stamp, and this is a text stamp. And I'm just going to stamp a little bit here and there on the page just to add yet another level of texture and interest. I love text stamps because I think that they add just the right amount of interest to a nice shabby chic page or any type of design, really. Absolutely gorgeous. So now that I have that stamped on, I am ready to embellish. I'm going to bring back the lace pieces from the Avesta laser cut elements. I have a second piece here that I want to use and kind of do sort of a layered design at the lower third of the layout. So I'm going to use the pumice stone distress ink to distress that up to make it look kind of antique-y, and that just looks really, really pretty. It's a great, nice faux lace border or lace ribbon look. Now in the past, when I made designs like this, I love to add lots of layering and dimension. So to the second piece, I'm going to add some small foam squares, so that just kind of lifts up a little bit off the page without it being too bulky. So the top piece there is going to be layered right on top of the smaller piece, and that's just going to add a bunch of dimension. And when you're looking at it, it looks like it's actual lace, that it's not a die cut, which is really, really awesome. To the photo, I'm going to add some more foam squares, so that pops up just a little bit. And I'm going to add some other dimensional elements to this project as well. And for this particular layout, because I love it so much, I am going to frame it and display it in my scrap space because it's just so beautiful. Next up are these gorgeous paper flowers. And again, I haven't used paper flowers in a very long time, so I'm glad these were included in the kit. I'm just going to create some little floral clusters around the page. So I'm going to create a floral cluster by the frame and then one by the title. And the title reads, "Beautiful, Live in the Moment." And at this point, I'm just positioning things around the layout. I'm not making any hard, fast decisions. I'm just playing and having fun with all the different textures, as well as the scale and the size of the various elements. I want the cluster there to the photo, or framed around the photo, to be a little bit larger than the one by the title. And I'm actually going to create a cluster opposite of that larger cluster around the photo here in just a second. At first I thought I wanted to put another one by the title, but then I changed my mind. So I'm bringing in the various elements from the paper flower packs as well as the Avesta laser cut elements. I added in some of those laser cut leaves, and I'm just kind of having a play and remembering what it's like to create this style of layout. I am a eclectic scrapbooker, and so when I met Michelle and she was telling me the type of kits that she makes, it just really piqued my interest because I'm at a point now in my creating that I want to sort of explore and play with different styles. I think my style has been somewhat one note, And it was very, very refreshing to sit down and to create a shabby chic elegant layout using the Jolie kit. Now, once I have the elements where I want them, I'm going to bring over some adhesive dots. And I like using adhesive dots for the textured elements like paper flowers and that type of thing, because I think it gives a little bit more secure tacking down of those elements, if you will. I also sometimes like to use some liquid adhesive, some really good liquid adhesive, to bond those paper flowers straight to the page. I'm going to use the liquid adhesive and some foam adhesive for the leaves. So first up, I'm going to add some foam behind the little longer leaf stems here. And I just want them to kind of pop up and float on the page and not just lay flat against the background. So I'll add a little bit of foam there to those top larger leaves, and I'll do those throughout the clusters as well. And then again, I'm going to add some little zots, which are glue dots, to the back of those paper dots, being very careful that I don't rip the paper dot or the paper flower. I did that once when I was making this page, and I kind of ruined my flower, but that's okay. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive to that little stem of leaves there and just adhere that directly to the background. And then I'm also going to pop up the butterflies, and I'll repeat the step for all of the clusters. Next up, I'm going to add the title, which reads Beautiful Live in the Moment, and I'm using some elements from the laser cut element sheet, the Avesta laser cut elements from 49th and Market. I'm backing the beautiful die cut with a little bit of foam strips, and then I just adhere the label that says Live in the Moment with just regular adhesive. To add just a tiny bit more of dimension and texture, I'm going to add in some enamel dots from my stash. What I love the most about these kits is that I can literally pull things from my stash, whether it's mixed media products or enamel dots or whatnot, and they coordinate very well with the color scheme with the collections that are curated for the kits. Lastly, I'm going to add in my journaling, and I just typed those up on Microsoft Word, cut them into journaling strips, and now I'm distressing them using some Pumice Stone Distress ink. And the journaling reads, a family walk on a nearby trail inspired you to practice your arabesque skills. Balancing on a rocky path, you extended your long legs and arms into a perfect, beautiful position. You are so talented, my sweet girl, so very talented. And I do imagine myself making more of this style of layout for all of her ballet adventures, my pre-professional ballerina. Just absolutely love it. This came out so pretty, and it was such a great exercise in exploring a style that I haven't done in a very long time. And thanks to this beautiful kit, I had all the elements that I needed and just pulling in a few things from my stash to create this gorgeous design. Now, if you are a shabby chic mixed media scrapbooker and you like what you see, or even if you're just curious about trying this style of scrapbooking, check out Jolie kits and Chipboard. And when you do, there is a coupon code that's located in the description of this video and on the Victoria Marie blog that you can use to take 20% off your order between now and May 31st, 2022. Make sure you take advantage of that. Show her some love. Support small business because we certainly need it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Victoria Marie YouTube channel. When you do, click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every time a new video is posted, including fantastic product reviews in support of small business. Thanks so much for stopping by.